Why is it that no one can truly control the INFJ? On paper, they look easy to sway. Soft-spoken, polite, thoughtful. They listen more than they talk, and they'll let you finish your sentence even when you're not making much sense. But that's the surface. Beneath it is a quiet engine that never turns off, watching, connecting dots, weighing motives, mapping patterns. You can nudge an INFJ, maybe. You can distract them for a moment. But control them? That's where every manipulator, fake friend, pushy boss, and charming stranger discovers a hard stop. Because the INFJ's power is internal. It's silent. And it doesn't need anyone's permission to act. Start with the way an INFJ thinks. They don't live on the surface of life. They live in the undercurrent. While most people focus on what's being said, the INFJ is tuned into what's not being said. The pauses. The mismatched tone. The history that doesn't line up with the story. They're reading the room, the rhythm, the residues of past behavior. They notice the compliment that arrived at the convenient moment, the apology that avoided responsibility, the offer that looked shiny but felt off. They log it without a fuss. No snapping. No lecture. Just a mental note in a file that grows thicker with time. That's the first shock to anyone trying to steer them. The INFJ makes decisions slowly on purpose. They resist urgency tactics. Rush, pressure, countdowns, none of that lands the way controllers hope it will. An INFJ will let your timer run out before they betray their gut. If something feels wrong, they pause, step back, and wait for the fog to clear. That wait isn't indecision. It's self-protection. It's how they keep their center when other people are throwing sparks and smoke. And when the clarity comes, and it always does, they move once, decisively, and rarely reverse. People mistake empathy for softness, but INFJ empathy is made of reinforced steel. Yes, they feel deeply. They can stand in your storm and understand your pain so well it scares you. But that sensitivity comes with a built-in filter. What's mine to carry and what's not? Emotional guilt trips are loud, their conscience is louder. The INFJ can cry with you and still say no, they can forgive you and still close the door. They can love you and still keep their promise to themselves. You can't control someone who will not abandon their own soul to meet your needs. Boundaries are where many people get confused. The INFJ might not always announce their limits. They don't always draw them in neon and argue them at full volume. Instead, they hold them internally, then enforce them quietly. That means you won't always see the line until you've crossed it. One day, you text at midnight and they respond. The next week, you try the same thing and get silence. It isn't petty. It's calibration. They noticed the pattern. They noticed how your emergencies always land on their doorstep, how your needs are urgent and theirs can wait. So they stop opening the door at midnight. They won't fight you for respect, they'll simply stop giving you the access you abuse. Controllers love to blur reality. They rewrite history, deny what happened, or flood the conversation with so much noise that truth gets drowned out. Gaslighting relies on you losing faith in your memory, your senses, your heart. The INFJ is hardwired to resist that. They replay scenes in their mind, not to obsess, but to understand. They remember how it felt in their body. They recall the exact phrasing, the timing, the shift in energy. They might not argue every detail, but the inner evidence stacks up until the verdict is clear. You can bend the story, you cannot bend their inner compass. Trust is not a door that swings wide for the INFJ, it's a drawbridge that lowers slowly as you prove yourself. They aren't impressed by speed. They're impressed by consistency. A month of charm can't compete with 1 year of aligned actions. That's why love bombing falls flat. The gifts are nice. The attention is flattering. But the question underneath never changes: who are you when the spotlight is off? The INFJ will wait until the bright colors fade and the real palette shows. If it's honest, they lean in. If it's painted over cracks, they step back and let the paint peel on its own. Control also fails because the INFJ doesn't live on borrowed purpose. They're guided by meaning. Call it calling, mission, conviction, whatever the name, it's the thing that gets them out of bed when no one's watching. You can dangle status. You can wave money. You can promise approval. But if it requires them to violate their values, they'll pass and sleep just fine. This confuses people who rely on rewards and punishments to move others around. The INFJ is not a lab rat in your maze. They're the person who notices the maze, finds the exit, and then questions why they showed up in the first place. Let's talk patterns. The INFJ is a historian of behavior. They don't only react to isolated moments, they see arcs. If you apologize often but never change, that becomes your pattern. If you help when it helps you, that becomes your pattern. If you preach loyalty but vanish when someone else needs support, that becomes your pattern. The INFJ files these arcs in quiet confidence and updates them with every new data point. When the pattern is destructive, they disengage, not with fireworks, but with intention. By the time you notice they're gone, they have been leaving for months. There is also the INFJ's relationship with solitude, which is a fortress no controller can breach. Alone time is not a luxury for them, it's oxygen. They retreat to sort, heal, and restore their sense of self. That habit makes them less vulnerable to relational blackmail. If you leave me, you'll have nothing. Not true. They have their thoughts, their work, their art, their faith, their routines. They know how to refuel without your approval. You can't trap a person who is at home in their own company. In conversations, the INFJ often chooses strategy over spectacle. They don't need to win the room. They'd rather win the long game. That means they won't argue every slight, won't chase every rumor, won't correct every misunderstanding in real time. They conserve energy for moves that matter. That restraint looks like compliance to controllers, until the day the INFJ cashes in 3 months of silence with one clean decision that reorders the entire board. Calm is not surrender. Calm is control of the self. There's a gentleness to INFJ insight that can be disarming. They don't expose people to embarrass them. They don't parade receipts. They ask a single, surgical question that reveals the whole structure. When did you decide my needs were optional? What do you get when I say yes to something that hurts me? Is this love, or is this convenience? Those questions are doors that open into rooms controllers avoid at all costs. Once asked, the script falls apart. The scene can't continue. And the INFJ doesn't need a monologue to make their point. The truth, once named, speaks perfectly well by itself. Many INFJs learn their strength the hard way. They used to overgive. They used to fix what wasn't theirs to fix. They used to explain themselves to people committed to misunderstanding them. Then came the crash, the burnout, the heartbreak, the realization that kindness without boundaries is self-betrayal. After that, everything changed. The same empathy, now with edges. The same love, now with discernment. The same openness, now with screening. You cannot control a person who has already rebuilt themselves from the inside out. In the workplace, controllers try different tools: micromanagement, moving goalposts, silent expectations. The INFJ's response is simple: clarity or distance. They'll ask for the target in writing, confirm standards, track outcomes. If the rules keep shifting, they stop investing in the game and invest in their exit. They leave promotions on the table if the price is their peace. They'd rather build something they believe in than be rewarded for surviving someone else's chaos. And because they tend to produce excellent work, they often leave with options. In friendships, triangulation loses power. The INFJ doesn't enjoy gossip as sport. They're not interested in being the favorite if it requires exiling someone else. If you try to bond by tearing others down, they'll nod once and mark the pattern. Today it's them, tomorrow it's me. Distance follows. Not because they're judgmental, but because they understand ecosystems. A garden full of weeds will choke their capacity to care. They keep their circle small so their love can stay large. Romance offers its own plays, jealousy games, push-pull tactics, tests disguised as passion. None of this sustains with an INFJ. They notice the empty calories of drama and how it starves real intimacy. They're drawn to depth, to honesty that admits fear instead of weaponizing it. If you try to control through scarcity, threatening withdrawal, rationing affection, they'll choose the abundance of solitude over the poverty of your terms. They would rather wait for a partner who meets them in truth than perform a love that costs their self-respect. Another reason you can't control the INFJ, they practice selective transparency. They'll share their heart, but not with everyone. If your hands aren't clean, you won't hold their secrets. If your actions don't match your promises, you won't hear their dreams. They understand that access is influence. So they curate who gets to occupy their inner world. Controllers starve when they can't feed on private information, and the INFJ knows how to set the table with silence. You'll also run into their devotion to alignment. The INFJ wants their life to make sense, values, words, actions clicking into place. When they feel out of alignment, they course correct. That might look like changing jobs, adjusting routines, renegotiating roles, or ending a chapter. They do this not to be difficult, but to stay honest. People who depend on them staying small or predictable feel threatened by these shifts. But again, the INFJ doesn't require permission to do what's right. Control relies on inertia, alignment creates movement. When conflict comes, the INFJ's style is surgical rather than explosive. They prepare. They gather examples. They choose calm timing. They remove blame from the table and put behavior in the spotlight. Here's what I experienced. Here's how it affected me. Here's what I need going forward. If the other person engages with responsibility, the INFJ will work as hard as anyone to repair trust. If the other person dodges, distorts, or punishes honesty, the INFJ's plan changes from repair to release. There's no tantrum, just a new boundary that doesn't move. The quiet exit is a signature move. By the time the INFJ leaves, job, friendship, relationship, they've already left emotionally. They did the math. They tried the conversations. They watered a desert and grew tired of rehearsing hope. When they go, it's not to make you chase them. It's to breathe again. That choice looks cold to those who only understand love as constant sacrifice. But it's not cold. It's warm toward the self. It's refusing to require a version of love that kills you slowly. Even their forgiveness resists control. INFJs forgive so they can be free. They let go of the poison, but they don't throw away the lesson. Forgiveness reopens their heart, it does not reopen the same door. Manipulators expect forgiveness to reset the board to zero. The INFJ's forgiveness resets their peace, not your access. You're meeting a wiser version of them now, one with better locks and a better neighborhood. And then there's the long memory of their hope. INFJs don't grow cynical easily. They remain optimists with caution. They'll try again, with someone new, with a new boundary, with a new strategy. That hope is not a lever you can pull, it's a light they carry. People can't threaten them with despair because they manufacture their own dawn. When you have your own sunrise, no one can sell you a flashlight at triple the price. So what do you do if you love an INFJ? You don't control them. You partner them. You meet him where truth lives. You take responsibility without theater. You honor their time and their silence. You let trust build like a cathedral, not a carnival ride. You match words with actions, day after day, when no one is applauding. And you'll discover something that controllers never will: the INFJ doesn't withhold love, they guard it until it's safe to release. When it's safe, there is no more generous force on earth. If you're an INFJ listening to this, consider this your reminder to keep doing the things that protect your freedom. Name the feeling even when you can't prove it yet. Write it down. Take your time. Don't let urgency dress up as importance. Keep your rituals, the walk, the journal, the prayer, the playlist, the art, because they keep you anchored. Say the small no quickly so you don't have to say the big no after your soul is exhausted. Choose people who love your quiet, not only your usefulness. And when your body whispers, "This is not safe," believe it before your mind drafts 1,000 excuses. In the end, no one can control the INFJ because the INFJ is already under good leadership, their own. They report to conscience, not coercion. They answer to purpose, not pressure. They follow truth, not fear. And that kind of life doesn't require a megaphone. It doesn't need to prove itself. It simply stands, steady and kind, listening to a frequency that manipulation can't jam. That's the paradox of the INFJ: gentle hands, steel spine. Quiet presence, immovable center. You can demand, distract, and dramatize. They will breathe, observe, and decide. By the time you reach for the strings, you'll realize they never gave you any to pull. So when people say the INFJ is impossible to control, what they really mean is this: the INFJ belongs to themselves. They choose with care. They love with boundaries. They forgive with wisdom. They leave with peace. And in a world where noise often passes for power, that kind of calm authority is the rarest power of all.